Hello, everyone. My name is Karina Bicker, and I am currently a city councilor in the city of Winkler. After Election Day next week, I will officially be a retired elected official. It sounds a little bit nuts at the age of 40, but I'll take it. I've spent the last 4 years serving our community in many ways, including teaching at Central Stations, teaching here at the Central Stations program. It's known as the Community Action Training Course. And so for the past 2 years, I've presented on our local government and their roles and responsibilities, as well as how to advocate and connect effectively and efficiently with your local government. As I prepare to leave my position as city councilor, I'm honored to be able to support and serve by presenting a short rundown on what the roles of council are, share some insights on how they make decisions, and I hope to leave you with a few points on why voting is so important. There are 3 levels of government in Canada. The federal government is Government of Canada, and they are responsible for things like national defense, citizenship, and criminal law. The provincial government is the Government of Manitoba, and they are responsible for things like education, healthcare, and highways. Finally, the level of government that we are voting on next week is the municipal government, in this case, the city of Winkler. They are responsible for things like property tax, garbage collection, and parks, etc. The City of Winkler Council is made up of 6 councillors and 1 mayor, so a total of 7. Council has 4 major roles: decision-making, governance, representation, and stewardship. They make decisions for the community as a whole based on the best information. They discuss these topics together as a group with the professionals and experts, and then they make a decision together with a majority vote. So all of the decisions need to have a minimum of 4 votes in order to pass. Council is also responsible for passing the local bylaws that govern people and the municipality. This includes things like animal control and zoning. Our council is a democratically elected group. As representatives of the community, council members are responsible to listen to and engage with the public and consider the best interests of the whole community. Council is also responsible for supervising and caring for the city's resources, and that means it is their job to make sure that infrastructure like our water treatment facility, money, staff, are all used properly and effectively. This requires strategic planning to take into consideration our city's well-being, not only for today, but also for 50 years from today. Head of council, also known as our mayor, is the spokesperson for the city and for council. Their role is to provide leadership and direction to council, act as signing authority for the city, and preside over council meetings and committee meetings. Councillors all have an equal voice at the table, and they participate in developing and evaluating the city's programs and policies, participate in council meetings and committee meetings that they're assigned to. There's a long list of different committees that our councillors sit on, and so we all make decisions together with the mayor as to who sits on which council or on which committee. All elected officials must comply with the council code of conduct. Decisions are made together, but each councillor and head of council has a vote. As you can see on this graph, that's not here. Thanks, guys. Proposals are received from the members of council or reports from the city council to the applicable standing committees. So, for example, if something comes to, if a concern comes up from the citizens, they can bring it towards the applicable committee. So if it's rec, they bring it to the rec committee, and then the rec committee makes a recommendation to city council. City council can then request more information from the committee, or they can decide to make the decision right there. If they make the decision and that policy passes, it is then moved on to city staff to put that into action. So that's how the process works if people want to make changes in our city. Over the next hour or so, you'll be hearing from each of these candidates that have decided to run and what they feel they can do to help lead our city. It'll be your democratic responsibility to go and vote on October 26th, next week, Wednesday. You can go and vote between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. at the Meridian Exhibition Center. You need to bring a piece of ID, a photo ID, that's like a driver's license, or else 2 other pieces of identification. In order to vote within the city of Winkler, you need to be at least 18 years old on election day. You need to be a Canadian citizen and a resident of the municipality for at least 6 months. If you're a registered owner of land in the municipality, you're also eligible. Just check with our senior elections officer, Barb Dick, to make sure that you're on the voters list. Way too often I've heard the remark, my vote doesn't count anyway. So why bother? That is so wrong. Every vote counts. Every single vote. Not only does it count, but it actually is your democratic responsibility. We often complain about our government, but we need to remind ourselves that they were all voted in. One vote at a time, they were all elected into those roles to make the decisions that they make for all of us. You can vote for, so it is incredibly important to vote for those who you believe will represent the whole community. You can vote for one out of the 2 mayoral candidates. You can vote for up to 6 council candidates. If you only believe in 2 or 4 of the council candidates, you have the right to simply vote for the 2 or the 4. You do not need to vote for all 6. But every vote does matter, and every vote for a candidate counts, which is very important. As I mentioned several times, decisions are made together as a council. It is critical to be able to be a team player. We have an amazing community filled with newcomers from over 88 different countries. I myself am an immigrant. I am beyond grateful for the welcoming community that Winkler was when I came. It is critical to remember all of the community citizens, not just the loud ones. We have a lot of cultures and demographics to represent as a city council. We need to be sure that we do justice to them all. If I can simply encourage all of the candidates, I would ask you to always consider who is not represented around the table. They all need a voice. It'll be your responsibility to ensure your decisions are made with our whole community taken into consideration. I'll leave you with a few quotes that I feel are important for everyone to consider. Complaining is easy. Doing something about it is hard. So thank you to each and every one of you that have considered putting yourself forward in this way. I know that it is not an easy task, and I can wholeheartedly say that. So thank you for being willing, and thank you to your families that support you. I see many of your wives, and I see many of your families here to support you, and so thank you to your families who have supported you in order to run. That is something that is often overlooked, and it is not overseen. I see it. Thank you. I believe it is critical to be able to debate causes and concerns, but debating and arguing are very different things. To be able to debate is to refine solutions for issues. I promise it's my last page. My final quote that I leave you with is, "It is wise to direct your anger toward problems, not people. To focus your energies on answers, not excuses. Our beautiful city has dealt with an awful lot of division. Differences of opinions is an asset in decision making, but the underlying critical piece to this is respect. I ask each and every one of you to show respect and kindness to the person beside you, in front, and behind you. Our beautiful city is filled with an abundance of kindness, and it is time to shine." Oh, I'm supposed to introduce you guys. Sorry, guys.
Well, hey, first of all,
All right, I'm introducing Katie and Jessica. They are going to be moderating and asking the questions of our candidates. So I think you guys are going to be reading introductions, right, of all the candidates. So you're going to do great. I believe in you.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Jessica. Right now, I'm just going to read through a format and the guidelines so everybody's aware of what's happening today and what's going on. The candidates will be seated accordingly to the number pulled from the hat prior to the event. The moderators, which is myself and Katie, will read each candidate's introduction. 2 questions have been prepared by the committee and distributed prior to the event. If time allows, additional questions have been prepared by committee members that will be asked. Questions will be posted to all candidates. Those candidates wishing to respond must raise their yellow card before the first response is given, which they have here in front of them. Candidates will be given 2 minutes to respond to each question. The candidates will remain seated at the table and microphone will be available to respond to questions. A yellow card will be represented 1 minute and 30 seconds and a red card at 2 minutes. The moderators will use their discretion throughout the meeting and respect to time to maintain control and decorum. The moderators have the final word on any item that may arise that calls for decision. Closing comments will be immediately following the open forum. Each candidate will be given 1 minute for closing remarks, beginning with the last seated candidate. Also just letting everybody know, after this is all done, we will be recorded and it will be put up on our YouTube channel. And following, introducing all the candidates, we'll have the questions after they've all been introduced. First up is Carl Krebs. Carl Krebs has been a resident of Winkler since 2003. He gave his life to Christ at Lake Nunavik Baptist Camp at age 13. He attended Bible school and is a graduate with a diploma in business administration. He has owned and operated his own business since 1986. In 2008, after more than 20 years in the automotive business, Carl entered the trucking industry as an owner-operator for 13 years until 2021. In 2020, he became an outspoken critic to a New World Order, the WEF, and the governments that pander to them. Carl is here tonight to give us a vision of what he would do if he were to become the mayor of Winkler. Henry Siemens. Henry Siemens is almost lifelong resident of Winkler. He is husband to Karina and dad to Natalie and Dylan. He owns and operates Serious Marketing, proudly providing jobs to 41 talented people. Henry is a proven leader who is committed to even level-headed debate of the issues and concerns that affect Winkler. He believes that the best decisions are made when every voice has been heard. He has served 4 terms as an elected council, helping lead Winkler through a period of tremendous change and growth. For 12 of those years, he was asked to be deputy mayor.
Dustin Brown. I have been a resident of Winkler an entire life. The last 16 years with my wife, Crystal. I graduated from GVC and for the past 18 years have been an employee at Lode King Industries. I'm currently on the board of directors for the Winkler Flyer and Manitoba Citizens on Patrol program. I have been a COPP volunteer in Winkler for over 20 years. For years now, and I have read the city council minutes, and more recently, I'm enjoying the live streams. Thanks for coming to the forum, and I look forward to chatting with people both tonight and during the rest of the campaign. Mark Bennett. Mark Bennett started his career in finance before shifting to corporate technology in 2000. Mark and his wife moved to Winkler in 2007 to raise their 2 kids, now 16 and 11 years old. Some of the volunteer roles he's held and still holds include Public Information Officer for the Southern Emergency Response Committee, Big Brothers Big Sisters Board of Directors. He recently joined the Pembina Valley Local Immigration Partnership Committee. Mark is currently an HR manager and safety officer for the PLS group of companies.
Thomas Rempel. Thomas Rempel moved to Winkler when he was 15, where he has spent most of his life since then living. He is the husband of 2.5 years to his wife, Leah, has 1-year-old son and another one due in December. Thomas is a full-time property manager and currently spends time serving the community as a deacon at church and serving at Central Station. In the past, he has also been involved with the Bunker, mission work in Puerto Rico, Habitat for Humanity, and the Special Olympics. Michael Greer, sorry if I didn't pronounce that right. Michael Grenier, sorry, is looking to serve you and our incredible city as a 3rd-term councilor. With the support of his wife, Melissa, and their 2 children, he has been honored to serve this great community for the past 8 years. Michael brings a proven track record to the table as a team player, common sense thinker, and someone willing to take time to listen. He looks forward to being part of the solution, tackling new challenges this coming term.
Greg Unruh. Greg Unruh is currently a corporate account manager at Solutions IT. He has extensive experience in retail and management and brings a unique perspective to the position of city councilor. He has been serving on the Winkler Chamber of Commerce for the past few years and looks forward to becoming more actively involved in continuing to grow and develop our great community working alongside our citizens. His history with negotiations and sales lends itself well to the responsibilities required to the service in his role. Peter Fraze. Peter and his wife Shirley recently celebrated their 42nd anniversary. He has 3 daughters, 3 son-in-laws, and 6 wonderful grandchildren. He retired from the city of Winkler in June of 2021 after a very rewarding 39 years career. He enjoys camping, fishing, golfing, and of course spending time with his family.
Don Cruikshank. Don Cruikshank has chosen to make Winkler his home for over 16 years. He and his wife Crystal find Winkler a great place to raise a family. Their son Justice and daughter Ariana both attend J.R. Wolkoff Elementary School, where Don serves as a Parent Advisory Council Chair. Don believes that serving where you live is very important. As a result, Don has served by being an honorable candidate, Candace Bergen's elected delegate of the Federal Conservation Conservative 2021 policy by law. As his local church board chair, coaching local sports teams, volunteering for provincial and federal elected officials, being an honorable Cameron Reason's scrutineer on election day in 2016. Don Cruikshank is now asking for the opportunity to serve you. Marvin Plett. Marvin and Elvira, okay, have 2 children and 4 grandchildren. He was a junior high teacher at Winkler Elementary School. Marvin has always been actively involved in the community. In addition to experience in construction and travel consulting, he's been an ambulance and fire department volunteer since 1986. Marvin has served as deputy mayor and all council committees. He has also served in intermunicipal committees including SWAMP, landfill, federal and Canadian municipalities, and Winkler and District Healthcare Board.
Andrew Fraze. Andrew Fraze was born and raised in Winkler, Manitoba. He's married to Brittany with 2 sons, Mason and Lachlan, sorry. As a family, they enjoyed recreation activities, including hockey and golf, and enjoyed traveling and camping as much as they can. Andrew has a bachelor's degree in civil engineering and is a licensed professional engineer in Canada and the US. He has worked in Winkler his entire career and currently works at Lode King Industries in Winkler as an operation manager. Andrew has had the privilege of being on council now for 8 years and thanks the public for trusting him in his role. Daryl Harder. My name is Daryl Harder. I'm happily married to my wife Dina for the past 20 years. We have 2 children, Tyler and Juliana. I have lived in Winkler most of my life, and I am a GVC graduate. What is that? What? Oh dear. Entrepreneur, new word, car enthusiast, enjoy the outdoors and helping others. I am board president of 2 residential condo boards, treasurer board, and member of the local nonprofit and church volunteer. As a part owner of Delmar Commodities for 25 years, my role was primarily human resources and office management. I currently work with Ironman Industries in a similar role. Together with my wife Dina, we started Dilly's boutique in 2018, which she owns and operates.
Don Friesen. I have called Winkler my home for the past 37 years. I have served 8 years on Winkler City Council from 2010 to 2018, having owned Choice Realty for 26 years and sitting on numerous church and nonprofit boards has taught me a lot about working with other people. I am very approachable, open-minded, and care deeply about our community. Being retired, I feel I have the time and energy to help serve on Winkler City Council. Don Fair. Don Fair has proudly been a citizen of Winkler for over 50 years. Together with his wife, Kathy, has raised 3 incredible children in our community, Nicole and Dan, Justin and Brittany, Colin and Danica. They are also proud parents of Oren, Ezra, and Smith. The past 8 years, Don Fair has passionately served on the City Council as a visionary leader. He has served in various boards such as MSTW, Planning District Chair, City Planning, Senior Center, Fire Department, Winkler Airport Authority, and Finance, as well as 13 years leading the Children Ministry. Always a fighter for the less fortunate, Don advocates for affordable housing, senior citizens, gateway resources, Central Station Winkler Food Cupboard, Winkler Family Resource Center, Genesis House, and other organizations that help improve Winkler's citizens' quality of life. Don's vision for Winkler is to provide more affordable housing, business development, and community supports which allows our city to continue to thrive and grow. Now we'll go straight into our questions for our candidates.
Question 1 is, what is your vision in providing more affordable housing in Winkler?
First of all, thank you to the Central Station Committee for putting this forum on. I think it's important whenever we can have an opportunity to gather, and especially at a time like this, we talk about critical issues, things that matter. I think affordable housing is a very key issue of a community, that everybody have some place to call home. This community has done exceedingly well and been very forward-thinking in its approach to what we can do. And there are many companies right now that are involved in trying to achieve that. The question is a little bit deeper than it first appears. What is affordable housing? I entered into this market in 2003, and the average price of a house in Calgary at that time had just reached $500,000. I came to Winkler, bought a 6-month-old 3-bedroom bungalow, fully finished, basement and everything done for $160,000. So we've come a long way from where we were to where we are, but that's part and parcel of prosperity. And in prosperity, we have to do what we can to help those less fortunate. But I also believe in an old work ethic, that there must be skin in the game. There is such a thing called sweat equity. There is a buy-in. There's a part that everybody who wishes to have a place to live does their utmost to achieve that. We currently have a shortage of jobs. That indicates that we certainly have employment opportunities. We have many affluent businesses in this community that are committed to helping others, but it depends on which end of the cord you're pulling. A company can only do so much. It has its limits as well. And so there's another aspect that we need to look at, and that is raising the disposable income available. I'm not an advocate for minimum wage. I never have been. I think a person is worth what their work ethic shows, and I think that in achieving higher disposable income for people, we certainly bring them that much closer to owning a house.
Thank you for those comments, Carl. I'll echo the thought of thank you for an amazing lunch and for the opportunity to be here today. Affordable housing, as mentioned by Carl, is several different things, but I think here key for us are 2 different pieces. Firstly is social housing, is what used to be Manitoba housing units that are rent geared, that are rent protected. We've brought those into City of Winkler ownership. We've asked Central Station to manage them for us, to provide additional services other than just being a landlord. So I think it's really interesting to see how those go and what that looks like. But I think as we look to expand on what affordable housing is, we have to use every lever that we can, every opportunity that we can, to work with our developers to create areas where affordable housing is going to be. It's a matter of creating rules that are allow us to use smaller lots to be able to build houses, allow us to use different materials, allow our city staff to get involved in making rules that will make it easier to build. The truth of the matter is the cost of housing is not going to go down. So we have to find different ways to get to a place that makes sense. That comes through partnerships. It comes through working with the developers in Winkler who would build. It comes through organizations like Central Station who would step in and help us provide additional services to offset some of the other expenses, to find out what other needs those communities have. And it is all about finding different ways to work with people in partnership, because it all comes down to partnership. We're no longer able to do things on our own. We need other people at the table. That's the biggest thing that I want to say. We'll bring other people together to make it happen.
Big thanks to Central Station for putting this event on, for the awesome lunch, and for bringing everyone together to hear what the candidates have to say. I think the municipal government should definitely play a role in providing affordable housing. In 2018, Central Station took over the management of the Winkler affordable housing units, and from the feedback I've heard while campaigning, it's worked very well. Proof of this, I think, can be seen if we look at the buildings and all the renovations that have been done. It's nice to have local people looking after the local housing, and they're able to provide a face-to-face response in a timely manner. I think it would be best if City Council continues to work with organizations like Central Station to see what the need is and to help provide a solution. Could we provide tax breaks, perhaps changing the zoning requirements in some areas to allow less costly houses to be built? These are some options that have worked in other cities, and I'm just wondering if it's something that could work here. Thanks.
Okay, I can echo all the comments that were made previously, but I want to start by thanking Karina for your service. You're going to hear that a lot today. And to the moderators, good job. Fantastic. Like I said, we can echo what the previous candidates had said, but I think when we take a look at some of the needs, affordable housing is going to be a linchpin towards filling those 1,000 open, by the way, there's 1,000 open jobs in Winkler. Some say 600, some say 1,000, but it's 1,000 open jobs. You need a place to shower at the end of the day. You need a place to sleep, to eat, to grow with your family. Maybe $160,000 isn't what we should be looking at. But what we need to do is we need to start asking the questions, what are the needs? We need to study what the needs are of the individuals that require affordable housing. And given our community's track record of schmeating problems together. Sorry, I'm in Mennonite University right now. It's a 40-year course. I'm halfway through. So you'll hear me pepper it with low German. And apologies to anybody who speaks low German because I'm destroying your language. But I think as council, we need to learn, we need to listen, we need to be open to suggestions, we need to work with other levels of government because there is grant funding available. We just need to go after it. So we've got our work cut out for us. We've got a big task ahead, but I think we can do it.
So this far down the road, it's hard to come up with anything original, but I will, like everyone else, thank you all for being here. Thank you for Central Station for the fantastic food and for hosting this, and it's been a fantastic experience. So yeah, affordable housing is absolutely an issue for not just people in Winkler, but most of Canadians, especially with the high interest rates that we've been experiencing over the last year. Buying your own home has become nearly impossible for a lot of people. One way I can look at tackling that is focusing on multifamily dwellings. When we help developers develop large multifamily homes, they can cut the costs and still provide quality products. And doing that allows them to pass that savings on to the individual living there. Whether it's renting or buying a condo, multifamily units are going to be essential to being able to tackle the incredibly high cost of living. Other than that, I also think that it will be a collaborative approach, like everybody to the right of me has already said, specifically with organizations like Habitat for Humanity. They do a great job of putting people in homes that could otherwise never afford them. And they do it by helping that person, and in turn, that person moves on and helps other people. And I think that's a great business model. Thank you.
Civic leaders are responsible for setting direction and policy. With regards to housing, it isn't just an election talking point. We need a clear action plan to ensure adequate housing is a priority. Councils involved in local initiatives through Habitat for Humanity and Central Housing, as well as taking advantage of provincial and federal housing funds. Regular meetings with builders and developers include discussion on where costs can be eliminated without negative impacts to the city. Looking at cost-effective ways to improve livability, we explore green initiatives, improve product uses, and more. One small but significant change the city's made is simplifying the residential zoning this year. There's also complexities that as a city we have little control over, from developers and builders establishing land and new home prices based on their costs, simple supply and demand principles, or investors purchasing affordable homes. I don't know how to remedy this, honestly. Lastly, government regulations and tenancy laws, though intended to protect us, also add to the complexity of finding a resolution. CMHC, insurance, and land transfer tax adds thousands to a home purchase price. If a landlord has a bad tenant that they would like to evict, but tenancy branch doesn't allow it, there's a good chance the next renter is saddled with those higher rent costs to cover that loss. And in closing, as a realtor, I'm seeing a housing market where prices have plateaued. Many investors are taking a hiatus. I hope this allows for improved affordability in home ownership as well as rental opportunities.
Things on? Okay, perfect. Yes, once again, thank you all for coming. The meal was fantastic. I'm gonna have to get that recipe. I don't know 100% how to tackle every issue that's here. However, I think there are some things that we could explore that maybe we haven't so far. I look to the north of our city and I see a place that I know I had to start out in, which was Rosebrook Trailer Park. It's an area where there's a real sense of community. People actually have the ability to afford it, as we did when we were first restarting, I should say, and struggling. And I get it. There's limited funds, and you have so many things that you have to put to your money towards. So something along that line, I realize would take some zoning, some planning. But reaching out to partner with, for example, Grander Homes, and put some things together there, I don't see why we couldn't look into that. Another just thought that I had, and again, I'm not sure where these are at, but these are all things that we can explore, would be the purchase of older homes and allowing somebody to work towards building a home up that has been purchased in a rent-to-own scenario. Again, we're gonna have to think outside the box to figure this one out. It's a tricky one, but I know that there's a solution, and with the right partners, we can make that happen. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thanks for the lunch, by the way. It has a chicken gnocchi or something that I had. It was amazing. So what responsibility do the civic leaders have in providing affordable housing in the city of Winkler? That's a good question. But it's a tough one. I think affordable housing falls in the lap of all three levels of government: city, provincial, and federal. At the city level, the land and physical building has to be made available. That includes the zoning, infrastructure, management of the program, and the local office, Lori is running that right now. They know they're most in tune with the citizens as to what the need is in this type of housing. The province needs to make grants available to help the city acquire and develop the necessary land to put up the appropriate buildings. And I think the federal government is the one that needs to have funding and tax credits available to supplement the income of those in need of this type of housing. This allows the persons to make the much needed purchase of their own home, or at least be able to rent a home in which to raise their families. And I think it's also up to the person to put some skin into the game, work hard, and make sure this can happen. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Karina and the moderators down there. Thank you very much. Thanks Central Station for hosting this event. I think there's really two issues here, and one is housing that's affordable and affordable housing. My wife and I, we got married 17 years ago and moved to Winkler and had to rent a house. And there wasn't a lot of good options on the market. When we bought our first house, it cost $150,000. That house today would be $300,000, imagine being a newlywed person, an immigrant, or somebody that's newly come to Winkler, you need to save $15,000 as a down payment. In 2018, there was a Winkler Vital Signs community study that was done. One question on affordable housing, 38.6% responded that more affordable housing was needed. I met with Lori, Brad, and Amber last week, the affordable housing team here at Central Station, and they told me that they're seriously concerned about the future of affordable housing and where it will be built. There's supposed to be a beautiful complex actually built right on the property here, but with the rising costs going up, that plan is on hold. Other property that is available, we know that it's at city limits, and so that creates a real transportation issue, and we'll get into that in the next question. I'd suggest that the very fact that we have great organizations in this community like Central Stations, Regional Connections, Segue Career Options, and Bunker and Eden Healthcare Services illustrates that we have those in our community actually in need of affordable housing. The other concern that Lori and Brad and Amber expressed to me was how are they going to get land from developers at an affordable cost? Because the cost of land that they would be asking would actually make the housing unaffordable. Last week when I spoke with Lori, Brad, and Amber, there was over 60 people on the waiting list for affordable housing. So civic leaders have to be involved. Civic leaders have to be involved in the conversations with developers and those looking to build affordable housing in order to incentivize developers to sell the land at a reduced cost, or we will not have housing for those that call Winkler home. And that simply is not acceptable. On October 26th, thank you.
Thank you. It's so great to see so many of you here. You care about this city and you have come out to see what the next leaders can provide for you. So this is a great question, and I'm reminded of a saying that a lot of us have heard. It takes a village to raise a child. I also believe it takes a village to make sure that each of us has access to a home. There are many ways this can happen. Affordability is much more than the cost of a house or an apartment. It includes food, clothing, job training, security, access to childcare. These are a few things that we can do. I'm so proud that I'm able to support Central Station and the work that you do to fill a lot of these gaps and help these situations. The city has another thing the city has done in the past week, for instance, to help out, we'll supply pool passes for people that can't do it. Canadian Tire is the Jumpstart program helps kids that want to get into hockey, and it's an expensive sport. So I support all that. I was a strong supporter of the city taking over and giving to Central Station the Manitoba housing, not because we should be a landlord, but because we can add value, and that is what's happening right now. That is so important, and I'm so happy that this is what's happening. So it is great to see you here. And I know that if we can do this by working together, we're better if we all work together, come up with ideas, and find the best solutions. And this is a great place to start. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for lunch. What responsibility do civic leaders have in providing affordable housing? One responsibility that us as council has is our zoning bylaw. We've in the past had lot width restrictions, minimum square footage restrictions. We require specific road widths. We request sidewalks in all of our developments. We require green space at a certain amount. These things the planning committee has reviewed and will continue to review as they work with developers. I'm not on the planning committee, but I know those fellows work with that. The other thing, density in our zoning bylaw. Density can bring down land costs. It saves in infrastructure costs, and is one major way that bringing prices down per unit is achieved. Is that enough? I don't know. I don't have the answer. The other items, the other side of things is social housing. My colleagues, I can't take credit for it. My other colleagues in council worked hard in the past to acquire the Manitoba affordable housing units in Manitoba, in Winkler, to the Winkler Affordable Housing Co-op, which that Central Station manages. That was no easy task, and I know Martin especially and the other Folks on that committee worked very hard to acquire that, and it has been a success that the province looks very favorably upon. My question, not an answer, my question is, how do we add more units? Can we add more units? Should we add more units? How many more units do we need? I don't have those answers, but I certainly will continue to ask questions, whether I'm on council or not. So, thank you for having me.
I'll take you down memory lane a little bit. If you look at where we've come from, affordable housing was government run, as Andrew alluded to. Homes were run down, destroyed, required massive renovation, and it was quite honestly not a program that, with today's requirements, as set out by tenancy branch or simply human rights, would have allowed your typical landlord to get away with, not to mention the health aspect. In speaking with contractors, many of these projects were not pleasant, extremely costly to repair, and very quickly run down again. Repairs were done on the cheap as it was government funded. Repairs were done using discounted material, mismatched flooring, whatever paint they could scrounge up, all in an attempt to meet a budget that was allotted to them, but not something that you could really say you'd want to live in with pride. So in 2007, the city established the Winkler Affordable Housing Initiative, and in collaboration over time, as Andrew also mentioned, with Central Station and local citizens and contractors, took on that responsibility of not just taking over the units, but bringing life back to the dilapidated homes and doing it right, using quality materials, construction, etc. And even things like adding a barbecue with propane in a covered space, as the Pembina and First Street of Southview Apartments underwent. So it's been a night and day turnaround, and hats off to Central Station and all those involved that took on that task. City and community involvement turned it around and added value and pride to the tenants' lives, knowing that they were cared for regardless of social or financial situations that brought them there. So can more be done? Well, of course. Only yesterday I was asked what could be done for a single person that just needs a really small space, but still a space. And making it unique, smaller, modular design, eco-friendly, other things, so many different features you could get into. So the answer to the question is, well, not originally required to take that role, the civic leaders and the city did, and continue to do so for the betterment of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Affordable housing. This has been a topic of discussion since I got back in 1990. I got into real estate, and we were selling homes, nice homes, for 80 to 90,000, and this was a topic of discussion then. And unfortunately, we are still speaking about it. It's a tough one to it's a tough one to fix. Now, you know, the average house in Winkler sells for 300,000. The average house in Canada sells for just over 600,000, which is crazy. Over the years, the leaders in the city have been plugging away at it, and I believe they've done a not bad job at some of it. Between Manitoba Housing, the Heritage Village, and some of these, I think there's over 200 units that are income-based right now in Winkler, which I think is good. But the biggest hurdle with all of this is who is going to pay for this. And as city council, I've ran in there before, and we try to keep the taxes low for the existing homeowners, but somebody has to pay for this. And especially now, I think we have a lot of homeowners that are barely keeping their heads above water. Do we burden the whole tax base with some of these issues? So it's a tough one. I like the idea, I think Greg mentioned about buying some existing homes, maybe existing apartments. Involving different levels of the government is great, but then you're always adding some unbelievable expenses usually to it, so that makes it very difficult. So sometimes when we can tackle it on our own, it makes it easier. And I also wonder, what does it look like to match a single senior who's lonely and needs a little bit of help, and what does it look matching somebody who's maybe single and renting a basement in there, or renting a room, and maybe they can form this great partnership where the person can help the senior out and maybe stay in their house a little bit longer. Exploring some of those ideas, I think those are good. This question, I'm sure, is being talked about right across Canada. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for everyone for coming out, and thank you Central Station as well for your hospitality. As you know, I've been a part of leadership for the city for 8 years. Prior to that, I was involved with Community Futures for the area, government-funded organization. Part of my job, among other jobs, was going to other communities to help create affordable housing solutions. So what did that look like? I would go into a community and look what they had available in housing. You know, majority of it's all single family, but we always needed multifamily, side by sides, anything that could help with the solution for lack of housing. And with my creating solutions for this, it was engaging community businesses, community leaders, and also offering, looking for government support to help fund these projects. I know a number of areas it definitely made a difference. But the problem is not just in Winkler, it's right across Canada. You know, as was said, we took the initiative of taking over Manitoba Housing, we refurbished them, and I had one of the single mothers that came up to me and said, "Thank you very much for taking over the Manitoba Housing because I have a brand new home now." And she says, "My lease on life is so much brighter because I'm living in an environment that I come home and everything's so new and bright." She says, "I've never felt that way before." So, you know, that pulls on your heartstrings and you know you're doing something right. And as was said, like we have this apartment that through government funding that thank you very much.